Hello friends, my name is Shilpa Kakkar. I am from MB Patel English Medium Secondary and Higher Secondary School. Today I have come with Standard 12th History. Today we'll start chapter number 8, Struggle for Independence. This chapter includes the struggle from 1919 to 1947. Let us see what the chapter covers. This period from 1919 to 1947 is also known as Gandhian era. It is known as Gandhian era because at that time Mahatma Gandhi became the prominent personality who, with his different thinking, started the struggle. It was not that he was the only person who was struggling, who fought for the independence, but the leadership which he took was completely different. If we see this personality, he has observed the things around him and put into practice. He observed that his values, views, practices, as well as the social and the religious, moral and economic thoughts had a great influence throughout this period. He was the person who brought complete change in the struggle. Gandhiji came back to India in 1915. He joined in the national movements. He fought for the not violently, but he fought for the rights of the Indians. But from 1919, he became very active and he adopted the means which none of the leaders had adopted ever before him. And that is why this period from 1919 to 1947 is called as Gandhian period, Gandhian era. We can see the constitutional changes, the reforms from 1919 to 1935. British government enacted Montesquieu-Chelmsford reforms after the First World War and announced for the self-government in India. But there was no such provision made in the Reforms Act regarding self-government, and that is why this provision was not suitable to Indians. Here they made a separate electorate for Sikh community, direct election system and diarchy. Diarchy at provisional level. Diarchy means two governments. So it is the self-government that is of Indians, and equally there were British. So it was not actually the Indian government. They wanted to keep the hold over India, and that is why they declared diarchy. However, Indians were the least benefited from it, and Gandhiji came to know through the pledges which they were making that they were not fulfilling the promises. They came to know that without satyagraha, without opposing these people, we will not be able to get our rights. You know that during the civil disobedience movement, Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed after during this Second World War. All right, but before Second World War, and in that second roundtable conference was also held, and Gandhiji attended that. During the conference, the British government went on insisting for separate electorate for scheduled caste because they knew there was the Varnashram system in India, and if they give importance to scheduled caste, again there will be the division in the society, and for that Gandhiji opposed this act. British did not like that, and when he returned to India, he was sent to Yerwada jail. It is in Pune. At that time, the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, he announced a communal award in which there was allocation of separate seats to the scheduled caste in the Indian Legislative Council. Again, as Gandhiji opposed this, definitely he opposed again when it was declared. And this time he went on strike, he went on indefinite fast. He said that this award is going to divide Hindus. So finally, when Hindu Mahasabha and Ambedkar reached an agreement, the Congress opposed the communal award, as it has sanctioned higher quota of reservation for scheduled caste and then sanctioned by the ruling government. The British government was again in trouble due to the civil disobedience movement, as it was restarted because of this communal award. In 1933, the white paper was issued. In that, the Government of India Act was framed. Again, they introduced diarchy in the center. The provinces were granted autonomy and the government of their own elected members. As a result, the Congress formed a government in as many as 6 provinces. Later on, there was 50% of the British representatives and rest from the native states. It was clearly visible that they do not want to leave India, and they propose a system of federal government as well as provincial autonomy. However, they gave governor and governor generals more power, and they can exercise their power and they can exercise veto power even. And they had such extensive powers that they could remove any of the laws anytime without the consent of the Indian members. So in both these things, white paper and Gandhi-Irwin Pact, the second round table conference, the things which were opposed by Gandhiji were brought into execution by British government, and that is why Gandhiji took the initiative to lead the movement, and Gandhiji became very active since 1919. The freedom struggle, we can say that Indian freedom struggle is a unique one in the entire world. None of the countries of the world had seen such a struggle. We have seen how the revolutions took place in different parts of the countries, and all were revolutionary, all were violent revolutions. But India did not adopt that because of Gandhiji. Gandhiji ignited human consciousness for truth and non-violence in India and lead the country towards the path of achieving independence. As we all know, Gandhiji was born in 1869 in Porbandar. He went to London for taking the barrister's degree. After coming back from there, he went to South Africa in 1893. Later on, he stayed there and there he began the agitation with the ideal of justice against color discrimination and social injustice. In South Africa also, the condition of the Indians was worst. They were treated untouchables, as untouchables were treated in India. But there, even though they belonged to any caste, any family, but as they were Asians, as they were Indians, they were treated as untouchables. They were not allowed the rights, the basic human rights in Africa. It was just because of the racial discrimination. Gandhiji considered violence as an act of cowardice, and he notes that non-violence is the innate to mankind, whereas violence is natural to animals. We are not animals, so we are not supposed to be violent. This is what we have to think and implement, that being violent, it is very easy for everyone to become angry, to take action against all these things, but to remain calm is very difficult. Gandhian perspective was significant, as there was no gap between his thoughts and practices, that is truth and non-violence. These things were not limited to his speeches and writings, but it was in practice, in day-to-day practice. Gandhiji had enduring faith in the people and their capacity to struggle. When he arrived in India from Africa in 1915, the people of India shared immense love for him. He was already well known through his activities in Africa, as he led the non-violence movement over there and became a very successful satyagrahi in Africa. People came to know about this man, they knew about the strength of this man, and that is why when he came in contact with Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he advised him to take a nationwide round, go to different places and know about the condition of India, and then you will be able to fight for them. So he founded Kocharab Ashram in 1916, and later on he founded Sabarmati Ashram in 1918. And he began to give a practical shape to the concepts of truth and violence. Non-violence had become a part of Gandhiji. He started experimenting with truth from his very place. After his arrival in India, he guided a people-centered movement. He led victims of Champaran, Teen Kathya system it was called, as we know it through Indigo movement. We have one chapter in English also, Indigo. In that movement in that chapter we have learnt how the landlords were enforcing the poor peasants to grow indigo into 3 of the 20th part of their land, and how they had fixed the prices, how they had to pay the taxes. And Gandhiji, he himself investigated the matter. As you all know that this Mr. Shukla went to him, who was the lawyer, and he went to him, he invited him because he knew the strength of Gandhiji, and invited him, took him to Champaran, made him aware about about the reality of that area. And when Gandhiji himself investigated, he took the leadership of farmers. He did not do anything. He just made them realize that you do not have to fear these people. It was the first successful satyagraha of Gandhiji in India, which is known as Champaran Satyagraha or Indigo movement. Later on, after the success of Champaran Satyagraha, he came back to western part of India, that is Gujarat, and there was a dispute between mill owners and the workers at Ahmedabad. There he became a conciliator and advised workers to refrain from violence. He was steadfast in that matter. He told people that whatever the condition be, they have to steadfast to non-violence. Apart from that, he also used fasting as a weapon for the first time. As a result of Gandhiji's fasting movement, the mill owners conceded and agreed to hike the wages of the workers. Around the same time, Gandhiji led Satyagraha, which has been of critical importance for farmers in Kheda. Due to the heavy rains, there was a crop failure, and government had intensified its drive for collection of taxes, and that too the full amount of revenue they were collecting, the revenue from the peasants. Gandhiji advised the farmers to refrain from payment of taxes till due concession is granted to them, and for that he started a satyagraha. The agitation was withdrawn only when the government insisted collection of revenue from rich farmers only and not from the poor farmers. We got a very brave, a dynamic leader from that satyagraha. That was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he was a devoted follower of Gandhiji. He led a very significant farmers' agitation very successfully at Bardoli, following the philosophy and guidance of Gandhiji. As all these situations were prevailing during that time, First World War was going on. You know that First World War started in 1914 and it ended in 1918. The effect of this war was there in India also. Even though India was not directly the part of the First World War, but it was indirectly involved because the soldiers and the weapons to fight on the behalf of British were going from India. So during this First World War, there was rigorous law passed against the revolutionaries. Under the laws, the revolutionaries were sentenced to rigorous imprisonment and torture, although being innocent, and this was the worst thing. The people of India strongly believed that such laws will be cancelled once the war is ended. But the Indian community was shocked when such oppressive laws were shaped as Rowlatt Act and passed in 1919. It was considered, it was named as Black Act by Gandhiji because in this act any Indian could be put behind the bars without any legal formalities under this law. So it was such a torturing act that the British government can imprison any person without telling them what offense they have made. And that is why Gandhiji named it as a Black Act, and he took the leadership of the movement. He formed a Satyagraha Sabha and started Jail Bharo Andolan. Revolutionary willingly went to the jail, and it was called as voluntary imprisonment movement. Gandhiji started this Satyagraha in protest of this Rowlatt Act. This Rowlatt Act made people aware that these people are just the enemies of Indians, which led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre even. You know that the government took severe steps in order to suppress Mahatma Gandhi's Satyagraha, which he started and declared Jail Bharo Andolan. As there was firing on Satyagrahis at Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, Delhi, Gandhiji gave a call for nationwide strike. People voluntarily joined in large numbers. The government enforced the Article 144, and especially in Punjab, the situation was extremely tense. At Amritsar in Punjab, an extremely big crowd gathered in order to demonstrate their protest against the arrest of their admired leaders. 2 leaders were arrested by British. Those leaders were Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal. They had arrested them without any fault under the Rowlatt Act. And you all know, in Rowlatt Act, they were not giving any reasons for their arrest, and there were no legal formalities. So people never know what had happened to them. Why were they arrested? And in order to protest, in order to demonstrate their protest against these leaders, Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal, they gathered. Due to the festival of Baisakhi, a large number of people were present in Jallianwala Bagh. And you all know what happened over there. General Dyer fired openly on the unarmed crowd. The fire continued until their stock was exhausted. Thousands of people died, thousands of them injured, as there was no way out from that. There was only one small gate where General Dyer stationed his army and gave the orders to fire. People could not go out of that bagh because it was covered from big walls from all the sides. People, in order to save their lives, jumped into the well which was there in that bagh, but thousands of people died, and it shaken the entire nation. This man ruthlessly killed thousands of Indians. There was an uproar against this imperial rule. This incidence of distress shook each and every Indian leader and each and every Indian citizen, and they took the pledge. They pledged to remove this government anyhow. Students, till this point we are going to cover. In the next session In the next session, we'll move forward. Till that time, read the chapter for better understanding and again listen to the story so that you remember it and you can answer well about the revolutionary activities and the non-revolutionary, non-violent activities which were undertaken under the guidance of Gandhiji. The incidences which led them to fight against the British injustice. So till that time, read the chapter for better understanding and we'll move further in the next session. Till then, bye.